Hello there, Kuzampo, and welcome to this week's edition of our weekly news magazine program, Bhutan This Week. I'm your host, Sharab Doji. These are our top stories of the week. Bhutan to have its second satellite in space by December. National Digital Identity Project to be rolled out soon. And finally, blind football comes to Bhutan. By the end of the year, Bhutan will have a satellite in space once again. A team of Bhutanese space engineers is keeping this dream of the country alive. After the lifespan of the first satellite ended in November last year, they have been working with the Indian Space Research Organization or ISRO to develop another satellite. Currently, the team is in the country developing one of the components.
This is where a part of the country's second satellite is taking shape. They are working on the first model. Once complete, this is what the satellite will look like. Space engineer Kiran Kumar Pradhan with the Department of Information Technology and Telecom says the 30 cubic centimeter satellite, equal to a desktop computer size, will weigh around 15 kilograms. It is triple the size of Bhutan's first satellite, Bhutan 1, launched in June 2018. The team will send the satellite into space about 500 kilometers above the Earth's surface. Kiran says the CubeSat will make 15 rounds of the planet in 24 hours. It will move over Bhutan at least 2 to 3 times a day. The satellite will take images of the Earth's surface and allow wireless communication as it goes around the Earth every day.
5 of the colleges under RUB, they have received such handheld radios. Once our satellite is in orbit, what we will do is we will let them try to communicate with our satellite and communicate with each other. So like CST is one of the colleges that has this handheld radio, and Sherapsi in Kanglung also has such handheld radio. So when the satellite is flying over Bhutan, so for about 10 minutes, they will get an opportunity to communicate with each other.
The ISRO is developing the satellite's primary component, which will have a camera to take images of the Earth for remote sensing.
The primary payload will be an optical camera, so it will be capturing images of Bhutan as it's flying over Bhutan. So once we get those images, we will be able to use it for in various fields like agriculture, forestry, or for land use mapping and all. And at this current moment, we are still discussing with our agencies on about how to utilize those images.
After completing the second prototype, the team will be returning to ISRO towards the end of September or early October to compile and test the satellite for the final launch.
Moving forward, now we need to also do environmental tests, what we call as environmental tests, whereby we see if the payload that we have developed can survive the rocket launch environment and as well as the space environment, because these two environments are very harsh and it's the electronic components usually find it difficult to survive in those situations. So what we do is we put the payload under a series of tests, but unfortunately the facilities required to do those tests are not available in Bhutan at the moment.
Like is the case with all nanosatellites, the lifespan of the country's second satellite is also expected to be around 6 months to a year. The first satellite, Bhutan 1, exceeded the designed life and orbited the Earth for more than 2 years. Kiran and his team say that, drawing lessons from the 2 satellite projects, they should develop a small satellite within the country in a couple of years. Being among the first Bhutanese space engineers, they believe that opportunities are vast and limitless if young minds are passionate about science and space technology. Pupkiem for BPS News.
All grocery and pawn shops can now sell tobacco products. According to the Bhutan Narcotics Control Authority, dealers and sellers must keep daily records of tobacco and tobacco products imported and distributed.
According to a notification from the Bhutan Narcotics Control Authority, the only entities allowed to import the tobacco products are authorized tobacco shops and tobacco wholesale dealers. However, they are not permitted to advertise or exhibit tobacco and tobacco products on counters or in media. The notification further states that the sale of tobacco and tobacco products to anyone under the age of 18 is prohibited, and that the sellers must ask for the buyer's identification card or evidence of age. The sellers will not be permitted to offer loose cigarette stocks to discourage curious and experimental attempts by individuals. However, the sale of tobacco and tobacco products near schools, hospitals, clinics, PHUs, monasteries, zongs, and heritage sites are not allowed. Meanwhile, the Bhutan Narcotics Control Authority will continue to penalize and fine those who smoke in public areas, institutions and offices, public transportation and entertainment centers. The Parliament amended the Tobacco Control Act in June to reduce the threats of COVID-19 with continuous smuggling of products. It allows selling, distributing, buying, possessing and transporting tobacco and tobacco products in the country, but production and manufacturing remain illegal. Pema Saldun Sring, PBS News.
A comprehensive report on all forms of human trafficking found unemployment combined with domestic violence and family problems leads to trafficking in persons. The report launched recently calls for increased awareness, especially among youth, strengthening human capacity and systems to stop people from getting trafficked. Early this year, Bhutan brought back 160 women from Iraq in the largest international rescue mission. These women were domestic helpers and some working in spas and parlors. The report points out human trafficking in Bhutan is mainly done for sexual exploitation, forced labor and debt bondage where work is exchanged for debt.
There are people who are not registered with Ministry of Labour and Human Resources, recruits some of our innocent youths who perhaps may have not heard of trafficking person or know of trafficking persons are usually become the victim of trafficking.
At the launch, the minister in charge of the Home Ministry, Dr. Tande Doji, said Bhutanese are not allowed to work as domestic workers in foreign countries where labor laws are not strong. He also said the government has reached out to all high-risk countries in the Middle East requesting them not to approve visas to Bhutanese nationals without written approval from the Bhutanese government.
Youth wants to process visa to a country where we feel this is not a safe country, and if they are planning to go and seek employment opportunities in that areas, we could immediately advise this youth or whoever the employer seeker is to caution them and also to verify whether they are going through registered employment agents.
The report also recommends increasing diplomatic ties with countries where young people go for employment. A national prevention strategy and an action plan on human trafficking are being prepared, identifying high-risk countries. It will also help to establish bilateral agreements with various countries which will make it easier to bring back Bhutanese if they are trafficked abroad. Sharab Doji, BBS News. If everything goes as planned, individuals can expect better online services by the end of the current 5-year plan. This will be possible through the National Digital Identity Project. Individuals will be given a unique digital identity based on biometric information. It is one of the major components of the government's Digital Drukgyal flagship program.
The SUPs have been collecting biometric data of some office goers in Thimphu since April. Biometric data include facial scans and fingerprint and palm scans. So far in the pilot phase, the team has collected biometric information of more than 17,500 individuals. The project will issue digital identities such as digital signature and biometric information to every Bhutanese. The users can then use their unique individual identity to authenticate themselves while accessing online services.
The identifier will be used by every individual who wanted to avail online services. When the service provider verify the authenticity, then they will use multiple combinations of biometric information. Sometimes they will use facial scan with the finger, sometimes combination between finger and palms.
He added that people currently have to visit offices in person as most G2C services are not entirely online.
G2C services has been initiated somewhere in 2011. So main idea of G2C is to automate the services. The majority of the services, online G2 services, are online, but they are not end-to-end online. So this is we could not provide the end-to-end online services till date is because of the lack of that digital identity.
The Departments of Information Technology and Telecom, Immigration, and Civil Registration and Census are implementing the project with support from the DSUPs. They plan to begin the nationwide rollout soon.
Since we have almost successfully completed the second jab of the COVID-19 vaccine, then we proposed to the steering committee yesterday in a meeting. Tentatively, our proposal was somewhere from September, but we haven't got any the approval as of now.
He said the national digital identity would become a core platform for services that require a person to authenticate one's identity. The offices providing public services will use the facility. Pupkiem for BBS News.
After waiting for almost 2 months, onion growers in Dagana finally get a market. The Department of Agricultural Marketing and Cooperatives recently made this arrangement with the vegetable vendors at the Centenary Farmers Market in Thimphu. The vegetable vendors agreed to buy the spice at 32 Newton per kilogram, but the farmers are not happy with the price.
The farmers have been drying the onions to prepare for storage with no sign of buyers. These onions belong to the farmers of Lodz and Ngang in Dagana. It was harvested in May, and the farmers say some products got spoiled. But the recent plan to take it to Thimphu did not go down well with the farmers here. They said the onions should fetch at least 40 Newton a kilo.
We have to pay 300 Newton per labor, and we have to hire at least 70 laborers to weed 1 acre of land. Until the harvest, we have to do it 4 times, including transplantation. It is expensive, so I decided not to sell my onions.
The price is very less for us, but I'm planning to sell it since the onions are already rotting.
On top of that, we have to take the onions to the highway. The vegetable vendors told us that they will not buy small ones. Without any option, I agreed to sell my onions, although it is a total loss.
Meanwhile, a representative from the Centenary Farmers Market who met with the farmers said the onions are too small to fetch a good price.
The onions are small, but the customers in Thimphu look for bigger ones. We agreed to pay 32 Newton for a kilogram if we collect from Dagana and pay 35 Newton if the farmers bring the produce to Thimphu.
The farmers have sold around 2,000 kilograms of onions so far. More than 200 farmers from Dagana started growing onions on a commercial scale in September last year. The Agriculture Minister encouraged farmers to grow more after India stopped exporting onions for a month last year, and the shortage hit the country hard. But with imported ones now easily available, the demand for local onions might continue to dwindle. For Pemuseong in Dagana, Choni Jama for BBS News.
The Supreme Court Justice Kiletsering and Pema Gasul Drampen Yishidoji have appealed to the High Court. The two were found guilty by the Thimphu District Court in regard to the criminal conspiracy case. Kyuletsering was sentenced to 5 years in prison for abetting mutiny. Ishidoji was sentenced to 5 years in prison for abetting mutiny and larceny by deception. Along with them, 2 other individuals were sentenced for commissioning the criminal conspiracy, mutiny, abetting mutiny, and other criminal offences. They had planned to overthrow the Chief Operations Officer of the Army, Lieutenant General Batutsering. And the Womrong battery and trespassing case is now with the Supreme Court. Tsering appealed to the court on 2nd August after the High Court upheld the lower court's judgment. The appellant was sentenced to a concurrent prison term of 18 months for battery and trespassing. She was also ordered to pay more than 260,000 Nyutam as compensation to the victim, the Womrong Trukhak's sweeper's wife. The incident happened in April last year. And in some political news, the People's Democratic Party has condemned the Economic Affairs Minister's recent comment about the business owners of Phuentsholing to a newspaper. Limpo Loknath Sharma was quoted criticizing the plight of the Phuentsholing businesses. In a press release, the PDP said the minister's comments have caused distress to the residents of Phuentsholing. Terming the Economic Affairs Minister's comment as disparaging and insensitive, the PDP has demanded an apology from the minister to the residents of Phuentsholing. The Economic Affairs Minister was quoted in the Bhutan Times newspaper saying business owners of Phuentsholing had been enjoying the benefit from business-suitable location compared to other places. They must have saved at least enough during their favorable time. The quote goes on to read, they should also bear the situation during bad times. The lockdown is not for years and years, but just had been few months. The PDP press release stated the minister caused grievous stress, hopelessness and aggravated mental trauma of the residents. In a statement to the BBS, the minister said, on the article in Bhutan Times, I am taken aback by the fact that there was no organized interview and the reporter has taken me out of context. My feelings and sentiments is with all the Bhutanese and we are affected currently very badly. Phuentsholing has endured the most and I sincerely feel for them. However, the minister did not comment on the PDP's press release, stating he will come to it later or personally meet Phuentsholing businesses and other people. Meanwhile, the Bhutan Times management said the interview was not quoted out of context and that they have the recordings of the interview. The paper also said context of the minister's statement should not be broken and understood separately. Sharab Doji, BBS News. The Vice President and a member of the Druk Finsom Tsokpa, Lili Wancho, formally resigned from the party. She submitted her resignation to the party president on 30th July. According to the party, she proposed her resignation verbally on several occasions in the past. The party said she resigned for personal reasons. And the Bhutan Kyunyam Party says they will not only take part in the next parliamentary elections, but will win it. This is despite the fact that the party will not get any state funding to prepare and contest for the elections in 2023. The BKP became ineligible for the state funding after it failed to secure the minimum 10% votes from the overall votes during the elections in 2018.
Although the party will not get state funds, the BKP says it is still determined to contest. The party says resilience is our strength and we will remain to give a good choice to the Bhutanese democracy. When asked how the Bhutan Kyunyam Party plans to get funds, it said that once a promising team has been presented, funds are the last thing on their minds. The BKP says it intends to field a strong list of 47 candidates to form the next government worthy of good governance. The party added their candidates are a good mix of young and old, technocrats, business people and former high-ranking civil servants. The party, however, declined to comment on the rumors of having chosen a new party president. During the third parliamentary election in 2018, the BKP won over 28,000 votes, which is 9.78% of the total votes cast across 47 constituencies. The BKP received the lowest votes on both EVM and postal ballots among the 4 political parties that competed in the primary phase of the election. However, this time the party is optimistic that voters will choose BKP. During the last parliamentary election, aside from the state funds, the state also sponsored campaign materials and provided broadcast time and print media space to all political parties, totaling around 30 million Newton. Each political party received around 7.5 million Newton. The BKP was registered as a political party in 2013. Bimasaldun Singh, BBS News.
And finally, imagine a group of visually impaired people playing football. It sounds odd, but it is not unreal. Elsewhere in the world, known as blind football, it is a growing sport. Here in the country, for the first time, a group of visually impaired individuals experienced this side of the often called a beautiful game. And what's equally interesting is that it left them wanting for more.
Toe tapping the ball slowly, Doju Amo gets familiar with having a football around her feet. It is the first time the 24-year-old is trying the sport with professional support, although football has fascinated her since childhood.
I'm always interested in playing football and never got the opportunity. So today I'm overjoyed. If we are given the proper support and guidance, visually impaired people can play football.
Like Doji, 21 others who are visually impaired, partially and completely, were introduced to blind football at the Changjiji Stadium in Thimphu today.
Such sports will help people like us stay physically fit. We can also learn some skills. It will go a long way in boosting our confidence.
Unlike regular football, in blind football, a ball contains bearings that emit a rattling sound, and that is what helps the players locate it during a game. The players also wear eye patches or shades to provide a level playing field, as some players may have little light or shadow perception. Today, blind football is a growing sport worldwide with national leagues, regional world championships and Paralympic competitions. It became an official part of the International Blind Sports Association in 1996. The Bhutan Paralympic Committee organized the program in collaboration with the Bhutan Football Federation.
In the future, depending upon the interest and the willingness, we are willing to give them the facility and the technical support required. We'll organize tournaments and training sessions for them so that they will be engaged.
According to the Bhutan Paralympic Committee, blind football is among the many parasports the committee has been planning to introduce.
We are also planning to introduce goal ball, archery, air rifle shooting and swimming. Besides, we will have other track and field events. For blind football, we received balls and eye patches from the International Blind Football Foundation.
Back at the pitch, the 2-hour event is over. Doju Angmo and other participants are all smiles. For them, it has been a lifetime experience. For Bhutan, another effort in making sports more inclusive. For Sonam Tenzin Ishitoji, BBS News.
And that's it for this week's edition of our weekly news magazine program, Bhutan This Week. Until next time, this is your host, Sharab Doji, signing out. Stay home, stay safe, and take care.